Okay, wonderful. Welcome everybody. I'm so excited about the recipe we're going to be making today. This is another one from Oh She Glows or Angela Liddon. We've made one of her recipes before. I'm blanking on which one it was, but I know we've talked about her in this class, and I find her recipes really reliable and tasty. They're full of real ingredients, and they're actually also vegan recipes. Today, I'm not going to be making a fully vegan recipe because I just have regular mayonnaise. I did not go out to buy vegan mayonnaise. If you're not a vegan, it's not necessary. The flavor is remarkably similar, actually, so it doesn't change the outcome of the recipe at all. And this is a great, tasty thing that we're going to make today. So it's a chickpea salad, but it's not a chickpea salad as in a side dish. It's a chickpea salad that's meant to sub into a sandwich in place of tuna salad or egg salad or chicken salad. So it's really meant as a sandwich filling. It's not the prettiest, which I think is why it works best in a sandwich. So highly recommend toasting some bread at the end to eat this with, or it is delicious in a pita or a wrap as well. Okay, let's go through our ingredients. So I have already drained a can of chickpeas. Here they are. I have celery. I have green onion. I have red bell pepper. I have dill pickles, very important. The recipe calls for garlic and fresh dill as well. I didn't have either of those on hand. I do have some dried dill, so I'm going to be using that. Oh, someone is here. So I'm going to be subbing in dried dill. If you have garlic and fresh dill, they're absolutely delicious in this recipe, and I highly recommend them. What else have I got? Salt and pepper. I've already showed you the mayo, and then I also have mustard. So it's a pretty simple recipe. I think it's going to be a shorter class today. A little bit of chopping, a little bit of mashing, but honestly, like I said, pretty simple, very, very healthy, which is great. So welcome, Gwen. Thank you so much for being here. We're just getting started with our chickpea salad. I just went through all the ingredients, and I'm going to share the recipe link in the chat for anyone who prefers to follow along that way. Let me just get that there. Okay. So there is the link to the recipe if you'd rather read it than just listen. Because as we all know, I'm not super precise when it comes to measurements. So if you want to check an exact measurement, the recipe's there. I'll do my best to read them out as we go though. All right. Any questions before we get started? Okay. If you have any questions as we go, please feel free to write in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask away. Gwen, as a disclaimer, we are recording today's session, so if you speak, it will record your voice, just so you're aware. All right, I think we're ready to get started. So the first thing we've got to do is drain and rinse our chickpeas. So I've already done that. They're in a colander. It's important to drain your chickpeas really well because they come in a kind of a thick liquid. That thick liquid is actually called aquafaba by some people, and it actually is a great ingredient if you're interested in vegan cooking to save the water that your chickpeas come in, because it can actually be used in place of egg whites. So it can be whisked and made really frothy, and it helps thicken things. So if you're a vegan, start saving your aquafaba, and please feel free to email me if you want tips on what to do with it. But if you're not a vegan, then just go ahead and dump it and get your chickpeas drained and rinsed. This is just I think the recipe calls for, let me just grab the can, just a 14-ounce can. It's a little wet because it's in the sink, just a regular size can. That's all we're doing here. You can absolutely add more chickpeas if you want. You're just going to have to add more of the other ingredients as well. Okay. Next ingredient is 2 celery stalks, really finely chopped. All right, so let's do some chopping. I'll just move my camera down. Not cut my head off. All right, I'm just gonna discard the bottoms of the celery and the tops. And then I'm going to help get these as fine as possible, I'm gonna slice lengthwise. And then I might actually do that again because this one's pretty big. There we go. So I've got 4 strips now, and I'm just gonna go along so that I've got little tiny pieces like that. The size you cut your celery is totally personal preference. I'm gonna try and make this really pretty and chop everything. Oh, I just lost a piece. Try to make everything really even and consistent sizes today. I'm often, rushing and I leave things chopped larger pieces. Sorry, apparently I can't chop and talk to. This is my favorite part of cooking, by the way. When you, like I said, I often don't leave time for it, but to just take the time to just chop is very methodical and soothing, I find. There we go. There's our first one done. Oh, and I need to grab my dough slicer. Some of you may have seen this guy in a previous class. This is a wonderful thing. It's actually, sorry, I called it a slicer. It's a dough scraper, and it is really lovely for lifting things off of boards. Get that out of the way. And then do stock number 2. The celery has a split on the bottom, so I'm just going to put that aside. All right, and I've got my 4. Sorry if you can hear the dog crying in the background. Oh, and we have Rose joining us. Let her in. All right, so my celery is chopped. Hello, Roses, welcome. All right, and I'm gonna take my chopped celery. Rose for you just joining. Hello, welcome. Just want to show you, we've just chopped up our celery to about this big, but that's all we've done so far other than open our can of chickpeas. So if you're following along, you should be able to get caught up, no problem. Okay, there we go. Next thing we're gonna do is our pepper. Let's check exactly how much this recipe calls for. It calls for a 1/4 cup. So I'm gonna do about a half. We'll see, we'll start with a half. We'll see where, so I'm gonna put half aside right off the bat. And I don't know if we've talked about peppers in earlier classes, but I find the easiest way, instead of slicing out the insides, is to pull it out. It seems to stay in a piece that way, my technical term. And then I just pull out the white bits, again, by hand. It just is faster to me, and it does just as good of a job of chopping, in my experience. And then if there's some seeds left behind, just tap, see, and they come right out. And there we go, our pepper's all clean. So similar to the celery, I am going to slice this in strips first, and then I'm going to dice up the strips. If you'll excuse me, I think the dog's toy is stuck under something, so I would love him to stop crying. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. So slicing our peppers into strips. And Okay, this one does still have some white that I didn't pull off just because of the shape of it. I'm going to use my knife instead. Okay, and then similar. Oh, another thing for chopping peppers is, so obviously they're curved. I just break them with my hand so that they're flat. And then that is obviously a lot easier to chop something that's flat than something that's curved. And because, like I said, my goal for today is to get everything really uniform, I'm going to try to chop these about the same size as my celery. So again, here we go. Just going to flatten the pepper. Those are getting a little big, so. White bit out. The white bit is fine. You can certainly eat this. It just doesn't have the flavor of the red part of the pepper. It's not bad for you. It's just not contributing anything, if that makes sense. These are getting a little bigger than I wanted, but that's okay. I'm just gonna go over these because, like I said, they're a little bigger than I wanted. So I'm just gonna go over the whole pile, try and get them a little smaller. This cutting board is rocking around today. All right, so I actually still have one boat left. I'm just gonna eat that later because I think this is certainly enough. This is one of the reasons that I don't love following exact measurements on recipes is a 1/4 cup of pepper is really just going to depend on the size of your pepper. So I think it's better to just use up what you have and try to get in as much as makes sense. Like, for example, I now have half to put back in the fridge and I'll eat my one boat. I definitely have a little more than a 1/4 cup. That's okay. Okay, next thing to chop is, let's see what she's got on the list. Let's follow the recipe. Okay, so she's got 3 green onions. I'm actually gonna save those till the very end because I don't like the onion smell on my cutting board till the end. So I'm gonna move on to pickles. Again, it's a 1/4 cup. So let's see, maybe 2 pickles, maybe 3, depends how pickly you want things. So I'm gonna start with 2. Oh, they smell good. These are just dill pickles. That is what the recipe calls for, but you could use any kind of pickle. I think this would be really delicious with like a sweet pickle as well. If that's what you have on hand. Okay, my pickle chunks are a little big, but that's okay because I love pickles. Doing the same thing where slicing the pickle into 4 strips. You see that okay? And then dice it up. Great. Now these can go. And again, definitely more than a 1/4 cup, but it's going to depend on, the other thing it's going to depend on is how small you cut your pickles, right? Like if I cut these a lot smaller, I can maybe get them into a 1/4 cup. So it's also about your patience. It's an important thing to keep in mind when reading a recipe. All right. Okay, I think we're at chickpea mashing time, which is an exciting time because then we're gonna add, so I've got my celery, pepper, and pickle in a bowl. I'm gonna add my mustard, mayo, green onion, salt, and pepper after I put the chickpeas in. So that means it's time to mash some chickpeas. So these have drained a little in the bowl, so I'm just gonna dump that out. Don't need that water. All right, chickpeas are in. So if you have a potato masher, this is a great time to use it. I don't own a potato masher, so I'm gonna use a fork. I'm just gonna squish the chickpeas, for lack of a better word. I think that if you had little kids at home, this would be an amazing recipe. Oh, Nancy's joining us. This would be the kind of thing where if you're cooking with a small child or a grandchild, this would be a great task to give them because you could, as long as you had clean hands, you could even do this part with your fingers. So that's something to keep in mind. Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much for joining us. Just to get you caught up to speed, right now we are mashing our chickpeas. We've already got a bowl with celery, red pepper, and pickles chopped up. Michelle wrote in the chat that she used her small food processor. That is a great idea, Michelle. I love that idea. That, especially if you're making larger quantities. I mean, I guess if it's a small food processor, no, but the food processor would be a great way to get these chickpeas mashed as well. I'm about halfway there. One thing to be said for the potato masher is it would be faster than the fork just because it's a little bigger. Okay, and the texture here is again, just depend on your personal preference. If you want to leave some of the chickpeas intact for texture, that's great. Like I said, this chickpea salad is a sandwich filling, and it is meant to replace something like, not replace, but it's sort of in the same family as egg salad or chicken salad, tuna salad. So I'm kind of looking for, I want a texture that sticks together so that it's not falling out of my sandwich. But at the same time, I do like, I like lots of texture. So I will try to leave some chickpeas intact, but totally personal preference. Like if you've got your food processor out and you want to just get them totally smooth and consistent, that's wonderful too. Okay, I think I'm pretty close to where I'd like. I'll just show you what this looks like. Heads up, it's not the most attractive, but so you can see how it is starting to still stick together. If I squish it, yeah, there we go. So that's what we're looking for. All right, so now let's combine our chopped veggies in with our chickpeas. And I'm just gonna stir that up. This is when I wish I had a second camera. If I had a camera to show you what was going on in the bowl too, that would be fancy. Right, and as I mentioned, I definitely did larger quantities of the vegetables. So this is very colorful. Indeed, if you were sticking closer to the recipe, you would probably have a little more beige. All right, there we go. Now it's time to add my mayo and my mustard. As well, I mentioned this at the beginning of the class, I didn't have garlic on hand today, so I'm not adding garlic. If you are adding fresh garlic, I highly recommend it. Now would be the time. Oh, do you know what? Garlic powder is a great substitute. And we can totally add that. If I can find it. Here it is. My dill. I'm gonna add the dill later. So I also don't have fresh dill on hand. If you've got fresh dill and fresh garlic, now's the time to start chopping them up. If you don't have them on hand, then powdered garlic, just a 1/4 teaspoon is going to be delicious in this. And same with dried dill as well. That'll bring out that dill pickle flavor. So recommend that. That's wonderful. Substitute if you don't have fresh garlic on hand. Michelle says she just bought dill for her garden and it smells great. I know, I love the smell of fresh dill. Fresh dill is delicious. Okay, let's now get in our mayo and the mustard. So for mustard, we need 1.5 teaspoons. So I have these spoons from IKEA. They're really small. So I'm just gonna eyeball it. I'm just gonna do a heaping tiny spoon from IKEA, but it's 1.5 teaspoons if you would like to be a little more precise. So 1.5 teaspoons of mustard. And then for mayo, we need 3 tablespoons. We don't have any spoons for some reason. We only have these tiny spoons. So I'm gonna eyeball it, but if you want to be precise, it is 3 tablespoons. So I'm just gonna do 3 big scoops. 2, 3. There we go. I'm also looking at this recipe and I completely forgot the lemon. I'm pretty sure I have lemons in the fridge. So I'm gonna mix this in, not with the tiny spoon, that is not efficient. Get my fork back. And then I'm gonna go grab lemon juice. So if you're like me and you left your vegetables larger, or I love how I started the class saying I was going to chop everything really tiny. Now I'm like, well, my vegetables are kind of large. What are you going to do? That's pantry cooking for you. Then anyway, what I was trying to say is this is the point where even if you've got a chunkier salad, adding in your mustard and your mayo is going to help keep it cohesive. And we're also still doing some mashing, right? So make sure all the chickpeas are in there. Okay, and I'm gonna go grab a lemon. It's fresh lemon juice in this. It's wonderful. And like I said, if you're adding dill and garlic, put them in right now. If you are adding dill and garlic and you want a precise measurement, I just thought of that. Dill would be 2 teaspoons of dill after it's been chopped, and the garlic would be, she's got 1 garlic clove. So, okay, now 3 teaspoons of lemon juice. I'm just going to use half a lemon because, again, I think the work of measuring it out is not worth it. And because I'm using a fork, here's a handy way to get all the juice out of a lemon. So I've cut my lemon in half. I'm just going to clean that fork off. If you don't have a lemon juicer, this is really efficient. The only thing is if you have some seeds, they might end up in there. So I'm going to try to get that seed out. I think we're pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna take the fork and I'm gonna stick it into the lemon, and then I'm gonna rotate the fork. This might squirt a bit. I wish I had a second camera. So, I'm getting so much more juice out of the lemon this way than just squeezing it by hand. there we go. All my lemon is now in here. Oh, and I'm also going to add salt and pepper before I give this a final mix. Salt and pepper is totally to taste. So as always, start with a little bit and you can always add more if it doesn't seem quite right. Oh, I can smell the lemon and the dill. Wonderful. My dill's just from the pickles, but if you have fresh dill, it's going to smell even better. All right. And there you have it. So, as I warned you, not the prettiest dish, but if we think about its kind of neighbors of egg salad or tuna salad, they're not the prettiest either, but they are really tasty, really healthy. This recipe is amazing because celery keeps for so long, peppers keep for a long time too. Mustard and mayo and pickles are just things we always have on hand at my house. So, oh, I forgot the green onion. My goodness, where's my brain today? I'm gonna add just a little bit of green onion. Michelle writes in the group chat, it's delicious. Yay! Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're enjoying it. Just gonna do a little bit of green onion, just for a little more flavor. And there we go. Chickpea salad. So as I said at the beginning of the class, this is a sandwich filling, so toast up some bread. Pita breads are really delicious as well with this. A bun, baguette, whatever. It's just a really delicious sandwich. Thank you all so much for being here. If you missed the beginning of the class, I will have this posted on YouTube, hopefully by the end of the day, as long as my internet cooperates, and you can watch it from the start there. Michelle says, thank you for the amazing recipes. Thank you for coming and cooking with me. I absolutely love this class. And our next class is going to be not next week, but the week after. And I will have the Eventbrite to sign up for that ready by the end of today. All right, any questions before we go? Great. Thank you. Thank you all for saying thank you. Thank you for coming. And it's been lovely to cook with you. And we'll see you again soon. Any questions, please feel free to email me anytime. All right. Enjoy your chickpea salad, everybody.